Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. I recently asked you for some recommendations for happy songs. I like to start my day off with like a little, bouncing, good old bouncing, maybe a little lifting of the spirits. And I know that's kind of cheesy, but that's what I like. This was on the list, so let's get to it.
2, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, before we get into the vocal, let's talk about the little intro that we had here, where all of the instruments were bouncing. I said I wanted bouncy. I got bouncy. It's actually like almost overly bouncy. All of the instruments are playing with tons of space between the notes. It's like very staccato, which makes it feel like it's always going up. Even the piano, which often is more sustained, it sounds, I guess it's a keyboard in this case, right? It sounds very staccato. It's all like blink, 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 like little raindrops, but happy raindrops.
2, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you can see in his fingers there, very staccato. Everything in the drum is very tight. And all of the phrases are also ending up. Like, I think the mission was understood.
2,
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah. This is positively perky.
She came from somewhere back in long ago. The sun about the moon now, she trying hard to recreate what had yet to be created. Once in her life, the imposters all smile for his nostalgic tale. Never coming near what they wanted to say, only to realize it never really was.
His voice. This is Michael McDonald, right? Checking notes. Checking. Michael McDonald. Michael's voice here is very smooth. It is very contrasting to all the like book, 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 book that's happening around us. It's like whoosh, the whole time. It is actually almost too smooth at times. I feel like it might be the mic. There's a little bit of fuzz in the recording, right? This is also from a long time ago. I think they were particularly popular, I think, in the 70s. So there's a little less clarity in the vocal than I would like. But that being said, the thing that comes through is just smooth. I mean, like, it's like caramel, but not that sweet. There's a different kind of lucidity to it, right? It's a beautiful, I'm going to find the right kind of food to compare his voice to. Okay, I'm going to keep trying for a little while. If you guys are with me in that live chat in the premiere, let's talk about if Michael's voice were food, what kind of food would it be?
She trying hard to recreate what had yet to be created. Once in her life, the imposters all smile for his nostalgic tale. Never coming near what they wanted to say, only to realize it never really was.
He might be a smoothie, but I'm not sure what kind of smoothie. It might like have to have chocolate or almond butter in it. But that being said, one of the things that makes his voice sound so smooth is the way he's going up and down. He's really like kind of winding around a whole bunch, but he's not losing the placement. And he does actually have some nice rhythmical emphasis, which makes sense because he's also playing the keyboard, right? That tends to give somebody a little bit more rhythmical emphasis in their voice naturally. But he sustains the lows and the highs in a way that makes them feel more even, which is really nice, both in the dynamic and in the tone quality. And there's also just, I think it's in the tone. There's like a nice little fluffy air bit around. He's definitely like a down feather pillow, but maximum fluff. We're not talking about like those soft kind that like you can roll into a ball, and who sleeps on those? I don't get it. But like the maximum fluffy that might actually be too much fluff. You put your head down in it and it sinks in, and it's possible that you're going to suffocate in the middle of the night from down pillow caving in on your face. Okay. Wow.
What they wanted to say, only to realize it never really was. She had a place in his life. He never made her think twice.
Whoa.
As she rises to her apology, anybody else would surely know.
Man, there are two major things that happen in there. One is going to be all this big talk about registration. We're going to do it in just a bit. The other that was really cool is there were several times when I felt like the phrase was coming to a close, but then it sort of rounded a corner and took back off again. There's a really interesting development, essentially, of the melody and the harmony underneath. Vocal register time. The nerd inside of me is very excited. I wish I had nerd glasses with me, Boop, this would be that moment. He is in this upper register in this part, and it was a really beautiful, almost unnoticeable transition he made when he went up higher there. I think it happened right at the chorus. Can we call it the chorus? This upper part of his voice, this register, we call it a different register because it shares a set of timbral quality, I mean like the color of the tone qualities, and vocal function, muscle activation as certain adjacent pitches. So what's really happening is when he went up there, one muscle group took over the driver's seat of this whole laryngeal mechanism before another muscle group was in the driver's seat. Now, depending on where you're from, we might call what he just did different names. My background, opera, classical, right? We call what he just did going into falsetto and really using a reinforced falsetto. We might sometimes call that head voice. It kind of depends on where you've trained and what kind of voice type you've trained as well. But we also should talk about contemporary. Contemporary would strictly call that head, maybe even mixed in some cases. And then there's also one of my favorite ways is just to call it by numbers. First, second, third. All right, there's a second register here. It doesn't matter what you call the register as long as you understand that there's a shift and prepare for that shift in a good way. You need to understand how your voice works, how your particular instrument works, so that you can make high transitions like this sound this easy. That's all there is to it. Registration is very complicated, but in the end, it's only as useful as you make it. That's that upper one. Okay, I'm going to go back to a bit earlier so you hear the contrast. No, further. So this is that lower register there, but it has so much in common with the upper one that when he switches, it is subtle. It's really, really well done. It's hidden. Oh, there's a comment on this I want to go into. I'll let it play for a little bit so you get that contrast more, and then we'll talk about it next.
What they wanted to say, only to realize it never really was. She had a place in his life. He never made her think twice.
That's really nice mixing right there.
Apology, anybody else would surely know.
Wow.
He's watching her go. But what a fool believes.
we can't get into those harmonies yet. We have to talk about those are nice harmonies. Okay, I feel like I just saw or heard an audible squirrel. That was a squirrel for Elizabeth right there. If you ever wondered what an audible squirrel was, that was it. Coming back to this registration idea, just briefly, for decades and decades and decades, one of the ideas that, like, foundational ideas behind vocal technique was that we needed to cover up any sort of change in registration, that people shouldn't know when we've gone from one part of our voice to another part of our voice. If it's a high pitch, if it's a low pitch, it should all have such similarity in the timbre and the quality of the sound that no one could tell what register you're in. Now, there's only so much you can actually do to achieve that, but it can be pretty closely achieved. And I've heard many people that mask registration so well, I haven't been able to tell the difference. But in contemporary music these days, there are two very distinct thoughts on this. One is, yes, mask all the registers. The other is, no, show all of the flaws and the cracks in the voice because that's more real, it's more authentic. And I gotta say, I vibe with both. I think there's a time and a style for both. There are, I think Sia does that some, especially in your pop artists and that really, really mainstream music. You'll hear somebody that has a very robust, belty kind of sound, and then suddenly will flip up into this airy, ethereal sound. Have two totally separate, essentially full belt, and they'll sometimes call it falsetto or a head voice. And they distinguish those, and they don't try to make them similar at all. That is much more common. But I have heard it in metal too. Just FYI, I've heard it in metal. I've heard it a lot in electronic music. Rock music, generally, though I have heard some exceptions, generally is along the lines of concealing any sort of register shift. Just FYI. Okay, back just a little bit, because I got some vocal harmonies coming up. Yeah. That is a lot of high blended singing. It is lovely. I love how extended, how sustained many of these harmonies are. They're not just blowing away and passing, right? They're there, they stick it and they stay there. Their vowel matching is fantastic. And they all are using this very light yet reinforced kind of sound up there. It sounds great together. By the way, I have in my notes here, Michael McDonald, right, singing our lead on this song, Patrick Simmons and Tom Johnson, I think are other two singers there. For the life of me, I can't tell them apart. This is my first time ever hearing them. So I'm sorry if I call somebody by the wrong name at some point. I'm going to go back a little bit. Let's get that beautiful harmony part again. Little comment about height, lowness of voices. I'm going to talk a little bit about, this is such a strange subject these days because there's a lot of shifting that we can do with our hormones and with our genetics, and that presents like a whole new series of different vocal approaches, which is awesome. When we're talking about people that are born male, often we'll see, actually this is both across male and female, we'll see people who are taller, just bigger in general, perhaps, broader, we'll see that maybe it corresponds, their outward physiology corresponds to the inner physiology, and their vocal folds are also longer, maybe a little bit thicker. And that creates naturally a lower sound. They'll have more capability to reach low notes. This is why often when you look at a group of musicians, like a quartet or in a choir, often you see the tallest group, the tallest guys over there, those are your basses, right? And then the shortest guys are your tenors. That is not always the case. There are plenty of people who break the rules. It's just a very, very wide trend. I don't know, maybe 80% of the time, correct? That's just a shot in the dark number. I haven't seen any great research nailing this, but it is a trend. That being said, all of these guys are singing so high, really, really high. They're up there in the rafters. Yet none of them will look and build like necessarily like they're going to be squeaky high tenors. And that brings me to another sort of fascinating thing. And that is if you're flipping over into your falsetto, that sort of, really I would call it the highest normal register that people born male would use. It starts to shift the rules a little bit. And guys that are baritones, that's that sort of like middle voice type in male voices, they tend to have a broader access to a wider range of falsetto. And oftentimes countertenors, that's like the kinds of born males that usually will sing falsetto like 90% of the time. They often actually start as baritones. So these guys, when they go up there, they are flipping over into that high register. And so I don't know that I would necessarily say they're all tenors at this point, although Michael did sound like he was a tenor. But maybe they are. But they're all using like this upper register just phenomenally well.
Just always better than nothing.
And they
Than nothing
are not stressed at all.
Said they lived somewhere back in a long ago, where he can still believe there's a place in her life.
This is so chill.
There's somewhere she will return. She had a place in his life. He never made her think twice. She rises to her apology. Anybody else would surely know.
Oh man. When I first read through these lyrics, I was like, it sounds like kind of like a lost love set. And then I'm thinking about what a fool believes in this title. And I suddenly realized this is about guys believing what they want to believe when girls say something. Sorry. I just, again, generalized that. Let's take that away. This is not the thing across the board. This happens to all kinds of genders, okay? But it's happened to me so many times. I say a thing and a guy's like, oh my God, she loves me. Just me. She wants to leave her husband and son for me. Ah. It's just shocking. But the truth is, I think that a lot of people hear what they want to hear. They're looking for it. And so they'll find a way to perceive something that someone else says the way that they want to perceive it. It just reminds us that we can do everything in our power to try and communicate an idea efficiently. And sometimes it just doesn't get through. But that being said, you should always still try to communicate very, very clearly. Here, I'm going to do this right now. I love my husband. He's the most wonderful person in the world. I love my son. He is actually more wonderful than my husband even, though I don't even know how I can compare. They're both the most wonderful people in the world. I love my life with them. I do not intend to go anywhere else or have any other relationships. Well, friendships are nice. No other familial relationships. Okay, there you go. In case anybody out there felt like there was some sort of gray line and decided that they should send me a picture on Instagram. No, thank you. This is not an opportunity to send it. You're welcome.
Never made her think twice. As she rises to apology anybody else would surely know. He's watching her go. But what a fool believes. He sees the wise man has the power to reason away.
That being said, never lead somebody on, or do your absolute best not to. Okay? No, it's bad for relationships. It's bad for humans. Just don't do it, okay? Be a good person. Respect others. Be kind.
He sees the wise man has the power.
Women have a lot of power in this kind of situation.
Love can come and love can go. Why can't love return once more to reason away? Oh Lord, I believe she's never gone away. Oh Lord, to reason away.
Wait, did I catch that right? A wise man has the power to reason. No wise man has the power to reason away. Yep, that's right. Your friends might tell you that that's not the case, but you still want to believe it. You're still going to see it. I think it's fascinating how uplifting and happy the overall vibe of the music is here. It's very, like, even in the pitches, everything just is kind of like sitting like lifted up, the whole place. It's like, oh gosh, am I going to use this example? It's like, okay, I've got a better one. I had one that was probably not the right one to use. It's like one of those fountains that has like a ball that's like being bubbled up underneath it, right? Or it's like something it's holding up. That's what it feels like. Like everything is sitting up here. There's not a huge big bass, like a drop underneath. There is some bass, but again, it's very plucky. And with this whole uplifting feel, we have this sort of sobering idea of somebody who is just going to be heartbroken probably over and over and over, and it's not a good situation. I feel honestly just really bad for the person. And I think what they've done is that they're trying to give this feeling from the fool's point of view. It's what a fool believes. And the song is how the fool is viewing the world. It's sort of rose-colored glasses the whole time, like, oh yeah, I'm on cloud nine. She likes me. She thinks about me all the time, right? It's surprisingly more deep and definitely has a certain perspective, I think, to the song than I expected to hear. It's a great vibe overall. Makes you feel like, oh, well, maybe it's better to hang out and live one's life in that great vibe, even if it's disappointing sometimes. Maybe.
I believe she's never gone away. Oh Lord, to reason away. I believe she's never gone away. Who's got the power? Nothing at all.
Many of y'all know that my husband is Kirk, who is often in our live chat and is also the one that gets to make the playlists up at the end. Sometimes I'll contribute a little bit, but today I'm going to give him a super, super difficult playlist title and be like, have fun, honey. Happy songs that are actually sad. Happy songs that are actually sad. Have fun. May you all fall more in love with music every day.